Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Big Reptile Talk, the place where we bring keepers into business. We bring them to the live stream and just chat with them, see what they got going on, see what they're working on, see what their current projects are, see what they got working in the future. We bring them on and just see what they're doing. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. It's Friday. Hope you're enjoying yourself. I know everybody's coming fresh off of Tinley. We're definitely going to chat about that. But before we do any chatting, of course, we got to pay those bills. So make sure you check out Basement Pythons, man. Shout out to Basement Pythons, just doing amazing things in the game, producing amazing snakes. I love you, brother. Thank you for being an amazing supporter of the channel. Check out Mile High Mutations, man. You know they support the channel and they're producing amazing snakes. Make sure you hit up my brother Eugene over at Morphed Ambitions, man. He's producing high quality ball pythons, and not just that, he has some mulch on deck. So it's like, you keep animals, you gotta clean their cages. So why not get some mulch from my guy Morphed Ambitions? Shout out to my brother Paul over at Large March Morse, man. I appreciate you for being a supporter of the channel. Hey, man, Mike, my MKL Exotics, my brother Mike out in Canada, he's producing amazing hognose snakes. So make sure you hit him up, man. Like, who wouldn't want a beautiful hognose snake? Like, they're beautiful animals. Shout out to my brother Fry's Critters, man. I appreciate you for supporting the channel. Mad River Service and Ratter, man, that's my brother, man. He's producing amazing snakes. Y'all make sure y'all check out his Morph Market. Now, this brother right here, Moreno, you already know Morse, man. Anybody will tell you I'm pretty basic when it comes to snakes. My favorite is the Exantic Morph and the pastels. I love the white and black, and I love the bright yellows, man. So he's producing amazing clutches. Make sure y'all hit him up. Matt Yates, man, I appreciate you for supporting the channel, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate you, brother. Ball and hand pythons, definitely low key, man. He needs some more attention. Y'all go hit up his Morph Market, hit his Instagram, hit his Facebook. Go check out all the stuff that he's up to. King's Pythons, man, a husband and wife duo, creating amazing boas, amazing ball pythons. I actually have their shirt on today, so shout out to that couple, man. Y'all go check them out on Morph Market, man. They got some amazing snakes. And Low Life, man, you're my brother. I don't even need to say nothing else, man. I appreciate you for supporting me. And also Michaela, Michaela's Farms. Y'all go check her out, man. Now, when we come back, this is going to be an amazing show. I'm excited. I just got into the monitor game, but I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but we're going to talk about that next. When we come back, we're going to have Mike's monitors on, man, so don't go nowhere.
Whoa. Big reptile talk. Yeah, we working. Big reptile talk. When it comes to talking about snakes, yeah, love that we got for them effects, yeah. Big reptile talk. Let's talk about reptiles. Yeah, big reptile talk. Let's talk about reptiles.
Yo, what is going on? I'm super excited, man. We have Big Mike from Mike's Monitors in the building, man. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Nice to see you, Derek.
Man, I'm excited to have you here, man. Shout out to Morbid Exotics, Bold Coast Exotics, all the people coming in the chat. Now, before we begin the show, man, we all know what's going on with Brian Barczyk. So let's take 5 seconds. Let's just be silent for Brian Barczyk. And then when we're done, I want you to tell me what Brian Barczyk means to you. So we'll go 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000. All respect to Brian Barczyk, man. What does Brian Barczyk mean to you, Mr. Mike?
Well, so up in this area here where I live is going way back to the early days of all this shit. There was no reptile swaps. There was no NARBCs. There was none of that. There was a little place, a barn in Streamwood, Illinois called Lee Watson's Reptile Swap. And that's where it all started for a lot of guys. Mark Bell, myself, my cousin, a lot of guys that are still in the game. Mark Bailey, and of course, Brian Barczyk back in them days. And again, we were all young up and coming guys. We were all hungry for these animals. And, you know, Brian Barczyk was a down to earth guy all the time. You know, not even how he is these days. He was like that when we were young, you know, when we were kids, always willing to talk and, you know, be on your same level. So, I'd known him a long time. And my cousin, we used to all vend at Lee Watts and swap. It was twice a month in a barn. It was so cool. Dirt floors, a muddy parking lot. That I mean, I had a 4-wheel drive truck. I got stuck in the mud. I had to get pulled out by a tractor. So, man, it was so cool. And you know, I don't know if I could say this, but there was more shit under the tables than on the top of the tables, if you know what I mean. Literally, it was the Wild West, man. I remember there was this one guy, and you know, I forget his name, but every week, man, when I'd set up my table, he'd be the first guy I'd go check out, and because they'd always say, "Hey, look at this," and he's like, you know, um, like Lenny on the Jeffersons, you know, the guy who had all the watches in his coat and shit. He pulled out. One time he pulled out an alligator snapping turtle, which are illegal in Illinois. And he just always had some cool shit. Well, one time he opens up his coat and he pulls out, I had no idea what it was, a foggy deli cup, a bigger deli cup. And he cracked the edge of it, man. And I just look in there and I see this golden eye looking back at me. It was a hatchling Nile crocodile. Oh, this thing, its eyes look like gold leaf. You know how that they do that on cars and motorcycles and shit?
Mm-hmm.
Fucking beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Hey, I shouldn't swear, right?
Oh, you can. This is unfiltered.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I try not to swear. I try to be a good example. But sometimes I get carried away, like talking about the old days. But yeah, so that's what Brian means to me. Like I said, Mark Bell, these are all guys that are freaking huge now, and I can remember them back in the day when they had deli cups on a table, on a 8x4 table.
That is insane, man. I'm jealous.
Yeah,
To be able to say that you came up with Brian Barczyk, you came up with Mark Bell, that is insane, Mike. That's why you're a legend in the game, man. Now we got to talk about Tinley, man, because I've never been. I'm thinking about trying to go in October, because. And I told my wife, I said, I'm pissed. Everybody's at Tinley. I want to go. So tell me, what does Tinley mean to you? Like, what's the feeling when you arrive at Tinley? Break it down for us.
when I arrive at Tinley, like, well, shit. When I arrive, how about Wednesday before Tinley? I'm getting all my stuff ready, so I'm all really focused on getting everything ready to, you know, to pack up and move out. And then it's about an hour and 40 minutes for me of a drive. So on that whole drive, you know, my brain's thinking, well, did I remember the tape? Did I get the extension cords? And, you know, because you don't want to look like a schlock at the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? You want to make sure you're tight. So, so I'm all amped up getting there. And then my guy, he drives the my wife's van from her business, and it's all loaded up. And we start unloading, and man, the first few shows I did, I was a dick, man. I was nervous, and you know, I wanted everything perfect. And my roadie guy, Eric, great dude, he told me, he goes, go shake some hands and kiss some babies. I'm like, but I gotta have my banners, got to be straight. You can't mess the barrels up, and you know, I'm all nervous, and so. It's like a whirlwind from the minute I walk in that place to the minute I leave. It's a whirlwind. It's, you know, oh, haven't seen this guy since the last show. And it's just everybody shaking hands and catching up. And man, it's magical. If I could sum up in one word, Tinley, spring and fall is freaking magic.
This shit like the Disneyland of reptiles.
You nailed it right on the head, man. I'm not a sports guy, so I always refer to it as like the Reptile Super Bowl. But you know what? I like Disneyland better, or Disney World better.
Mike, I'm jealous, man. I gotta get to one, man.
You gotta.
Now, Tinley being as big as it is, like there's so many people there. Like, what do you think is the key to actually get to Tinley and make sales?
Well, you know what? I see a lot of people, I walk through the place as much as I can. I'm pretty busy the whole time. But I hear the people are like, "Oh, this show," and I'm like, dude, stand up, talk to people, get involved. I mean, you got to make people like this. I mean, they're interested, but now you got to capture what they're feeling inside. And I guess, like, if you're a lump, you don't do that. But if you got passion, you want to see people have the best and know everything about the animals that they're buying. So literally, my jaw starts flapping Friday night, and I never shut up till Sunday on the ride home. So, yeah, you got to be involved, man. You gotta, engage people, even people who are, like, I've been doing this a while, so you can tell when someone's a tire kicker. They're just asking questions. But you know what? I help them all the same. If I realize it's not going to turn into a sale and there's another person and they say, and I have a conversation with them and they seem a little more interested, I don't just shut the other guy off. I ease them out. I ease out of that conversation and I get into another one. And yeah, you got to make people want your stuff. I mean, especially in the monitor game. It's not, man, I don't even know how to say this. So my animals, people come in to look at my animals are either they think they're beautiful and they're very interested in them. That's one person. And then you got the people, those people, and then they look at the price tag and they kind of, quiet down a little bit. And then you got the people who know what they're coming to look for. They know what they're coming to get. And the prices don't intimidate them. I mean, my animals are pretty expensive, but I got to say, my overhead is huge. And I kind of get a kick out of people who say, yeah, I'm gonna get into breeding monitors. I'm gonna make a lot of money. No, you ain't. If you do them right, your electric bill's a fortune, your feed bill's a fortune. The daily work is, time consuming, which is, time is money. So, yeah, that's pretty much how it is. But I just love talking to people about monitors. And what you had said earlier is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that I'm in the monitor game. I got a Savannah monitor. Hell yeah, you're in the game, bro.
Okay, I like that.
It's all it
That's what's
takes
up,
is
man.
one.
Yeah.
You gotta do them right, and to do them right, especially, people don't realize just because a Savannah monitor or a Nile monitor is, less than $50 or $50 or less, man, that animal deserves, $1 million husbandry routine. It's a living animal, and although they're inexpensive because they're imported by the thousands, that animal still deserves a good life and to take care of them proper. And so that I try to encourage people when I see people come by and they right away see Mike's monitors. They're like, "Oh, hey, look what my son just got," and it's an imported Asian water monitor or something. Man, I don't turn my nose up at that kid. I help him understand as much as he can in the few minutes I have to talk to him, because I want to see him succeed. I want to see everybody succeed with monitors. So I give him the best advice that I have, and husbandry advice, the whole 9 yards. And it's not a matter of, an albino water monitor that's worth 15 grand or whatever the case may be. That animal deserves, like I said, $1 million treatment. So I try to get people help in the right way and get them started in the right way. And, you may not realize this now, but even like in those early days of Lee Watson's reptile swap, you don't realize stuff, but you're starting on a path. Those are your first steps. Your first step, you have a Savannah monitor. You got to do it right. And when you do it right, you'll feel so much satisfaction that when you're ready for the Kimberly Rocks or the Ackies or the Gilleneye or whatever it's going to, because that's how it is with monitors, dude. You're done. You're going to have more monitors.
I'm so I'm so excited, man. Like when I got my monitor and see owning snakes. And first off, man, at my Animal House, thank you for that super chat, man. Everybody in the chat, I see y'all. Thank y'all so much. Everybody's just like understand, Mike, you're kicking so much knowledge. Now, Mike, my Savannah monitors got me kind of like OCD, and I tell you why. Like when it comes to snakes and when they shed, you got to get all the shed off. It's like my Savannah monitor will shed a little bit, and I can, and I help it shed, and I get the shed off, and I go and look in the cage, and there's more stuck shed on it. And I'm like, what the hell? It never stops shedding ever.
Yeah. Well, you got to understand something. That the difference between snakes and monitors is they don't shed in an even peel, So they do shed real patchy. Don't worry about that. You don't really have to assist them. I mean, if you're petting it or whatever and you got a little edge up, you can pull it off a little bit. But for the most part, there's never any stuck sheds on monitors unless you're keeping them in really appalling conditions.
Okay.
They take care of themselves pretty good.
They do pretty good. That's what's up, man. Now, we still on Tinley, man. We're going to get into the monitor talk, man. That's why I wanted you to come because, like I said, I just got a monitor. But while we're talking about Tinley, man, talk to me about the feeling in the place when Potter got Barczyk on the phone.
Oh, man, dude. So, Brian made it pretty knowledged out there that, he was going through something. We didn't really know what. Then we found out what, and now you're starting to think, wow, that don't sound too good. And then we were, and that was my mindset at the auction. And then, when Brian Potter got up there and he laid it out, man, and he did a great job. All of the, him and Bob Ashley and Vanessa, Russ Gurley, everybody up there are just so, they're such great people. They're compassionate. And the way he laid out the story, everybody in the room was just, holding on to his every word. And then he put the timeline out there, which I didn't know. I don't know who knew, but I didn't know the timeline. And boy, as a father of 8 kids, 4 grandbabies, to hear something like that, wow, and it still kind of chokes me up. Oh man, dude, man. You can't even imagine hearing that, Man. But it was so real when he put that timeline out there. And man, I don't wish that on anybody, especially a guy, like him, who's so giving and sharing to the community and helpful with people, and like taking the time to listen, not just talk. I mean, I'm a talker and I listen too, but man, he's really good at listening to, the other person where, he gives them his time. And like we just talked about a minute ago, time is money. I mean, he's a busy dude and, he's got a lot of stuff going on. And man, according to what I heard at the thing, his time is short and, God bless him. I wish the best for him and his family. But you know what? I really personally think that Brian is a fighter, man. I've seen him when I was on vacation at a rest stop in Ohio. We went out to go to the bathroom, come out, and here's Brian way back then with a van full of animals, and he was going to a show. So he works hard and he's a grinder. So I don't count him out. If anybody can beat this, it's definitely him. And I contacted him, and we've been trying to hook up in our adult years for, a couple of years now. I wanted to offer a Mertens monitor for his Reptarium, and we,
awesome.
His schedule, my schedule, we never got to really hook up, but I am actually going up there in August. And he goes, I said, get a tank set up for a couple of nice Australian monitors that like the water a lot. He knew what I was talking about. And he goes, well, yeah, August, I really hope I'm here. I'm like, listen, get the tank ready and I'll see you in August. I mean,
damn right.
And I know that guy's full of positivity. So I just, I hear everybody posting videos and stuff, and we all understand you want to show your I don't know what the word. I'm not good with words, man. I'm a retired concrete finisher. I'm not a eloquent guy or whatever the word is. But, you know, when you talk to him or when you make videos, my personal opinion is be cheery, be up, man. And, you know, you're going to make this, you're going to beat this, you know, and sometimes it drives me crazy when I hear people saying, oh, my grandpa had, you know, and it's just like, man, just give some positive encouragement and move on. You know what I mean?
I
But I get
definitely
it.
agree.
Everybody shows their compassion in a different way. But yeah, so
I
that's my take on that.
I de-
I'm not good with words, and I don't want to sound like a heel or nothing. So I mean, I love the guy. He's a great guy for our community. Brings in tons and tons of people for this, and has been doing so year after year after year for many years. So yeah,
I definitely agree, man. I wish I was there. I'm sure it wasn't a dry eye in the room, man.
no,
Much love to Brian Barczyk, man. Now let's get into the history of Mike's monitors, man. Because like I said, I'm a fan. You're a big dog in the game. Now before you were doing monitors, a lot of people don't know this. You were a snake breeder. So my
yep.
question to you is like, you know, you were breeding colubrids. What made you say, you know what? I love snakes. I have a passion for snakes, but let me test my hand with monitors. What made you? What clicked in your head to say, let me
Well,
see
you
if
know
I can
what?
breed monitors?
Yeah, so it's kind of like this. So as a kid, I had all the and don't take this the wrong way. I had all the stuff that you get when you're a kid: boas, ball pythons, tortoises, and you know, I grew quickly bored with that kind of stuff, and I really started focusing on like colubrids, and I love high metabolism colubrids. So I guess really when you think about it, the animals, the snakes that I really love and work a lot with were all basically monitors without arms and legs. So I was always been into thamnophis, garter snakes. I've always been into racers and indigos, drymarchon. You know, and I really love boas too. So I've kept rainbow boas for a long time. But then I kind of fell in this niche with North American desert rat snakes, which again, it's not a real commonplace thing. It's getting, you know, pretty big, but like the Bogertophorus rosalia, the Baja rat snakes. When I got my first pair, there was none. You know, one guy, Jim Kane, was breeding them, and I saved my. We get a in the union we get a vacation. They call it vacation fund, but they take like they were back in those days it was like $5 an hour out of your paycheck, and they put it in a fund, and you get it like December 10th. So you'd get this nice check December 10th. And of course, like me and all the other cement finishers, we weren't good at saving money. So it was nice to get that good hit right before Christmas for your family.
Right.
So one year I had gotten a pretty big check, and man, you know, I was very young, and the pair of Rosalias were $600. So I gave my fair share to the family, and I kept that $600 in my pocket. And it was like a kid in a candy store. I was dreaming about Rosalia rat snakes, and then I finally got them. And then, you know, and I had all the Transpecos rat snakes, and then I got Centicolus triaspis intermedia, which is the Arizona green rat snakes. Oh man, dude, that's probably one of my favorite snakes, and I really wish I had some now, but I got my hands full with all these monitors. So getting to the story, so back at Lee Watson's Reptile Swap, that one way back in the day, I had a table selling tarantulas for a friend, plus my snakes. And one vendor from there was a lot of people from out of state. He came up to me and he goes, "Oh, I'd really like your captive born rainbow boas. Would you like to trade for a peach throat monitor?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm not a lizard guy. I don't, you know, no, I don't." So, and it was always tradition, like around an hour before the end of the show, you go around to the other vendors and look and see whatever, you know, you make deals. So he comes back to my table, and I'm like, nah, I'm still not interested, you know. And like my experience at that point with monitors was Savannah monitors, Nile monitors, and imported water monitor. So I didn't want it. So he's like, "Oh man, you at least want to look at it?" I'm like, "All right, bring it over here. Let me look at it." Like I said, he said it was a peach throat monitor. Never heard of it. He came up to my table with that peach throat monitor sitting on his forearm, and I just said, "What the?" It was so it was so beautiful. So I mean, I had like 20 baby rainbows. I said, "Sure, man, I'll trade you." So I traded him. I went home fascinated with this animal. I built a really, so what I did was I took, back in the day, there was a company, Dick Dunn ran a company called Creative Habitats, and they were really cool tank kind of enclosures. So it had, on the left side, there was a, probably like a 1x1 screen, a 1x1 glass in the middle, and then on the right was a 1x1 screen. So what I did was I butted two 4-footers together. I removed the right screen on one side and the left screen on another side, and I took a 20-gallon, same kind of tank, and I turned it upside down. So I basically connected the two 4-foot cages, and my peach throat had an 8-foot run. It was, and I decked
Nice.
it out like I do. And yeah, man, I would just sit there and look at that thing. And I think it was the swap was like twice a month. So the next, in 2 weeks' time, I went back to the swap, started selling all my snakes. And another guy, he's a real low key guy, but man, he was a money guy, had some really cool stuff like that most people don't have. And like I said, I was selling spiders for a friend of mine who used Arachnocentric here in Chicago. And the guy comes up. I had Brachypelma vagans. It's a red rump tarantula from Mexico. Big and beautiful. They're just gorgeous, gorgeous spiders. And they're really not expensive. And this guy comes up to me and he goes, "Oh, I really like that red rump." I'm like, whatever. There's the price. And he goes, "Would you trade for a green tree monitor?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Would you trade for a green tree monitor?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely, I will." So we started talking and he told me all about it. And back in those days, like, if you got imported green tree monitors, they were full grown adults. They looked like a green pencil mark. They were so emaciated and full of parasites. He told me he got this one when it was the size of a green anole. So I'm like, wow, it was almost like unbelievable, the story. So he invites me to his house to make the trade. I bring a bunch of stuff with me. And I'm like, all right, I bring the spiders. I'm like, "Where's the green tree?" He goes, "Over there in that 29-gallon fish tank." And literally, when I tell you 29-gallon fish tank, that's what it was. It had
Damn.
the pen plaques, the flip top on it with the light bar over it. It was not a monitor setup at all.
Damn.
But, no lock on the lid, nothing. It was just like a fish tank. He goes, "Just open the tank and put your hand on the rim." So I opened my tank, his tank. I put my hand on the rim. This fucking thing crawls right up my arm, across my shoulders, and sits right here. I'm looking at him. I'm like, what the heck?
You fell in love.
Oh, this thing was so tame. And so made the deal with him. I went home and I named him G Monkey. And I named him G Monkey because he was like having a green monkey. This thing was so tame. He would sit on my shoulder while I was doing all the work in the house, in the animal room. Like if I went outside to get the mail and stood next to a tree, it wouldn't even look at the tree to run up it or nothing. So G Monkey was my my little guy, man, and that's how it all started for me. And then I just started collecting everything.
And then he said, "I got 2 monitors and I sold all my snakes." He said, "I'm out the snake game. I'm monitors."
That's it. That's it. Now I'm kind of integrating a little bit. So I have some really nice emerald tree boas that I have 2 pairs. I have a male and a female northern regular emeralds, and then I have a male and a female patternless emeralds, which are gorgeous, man. These things are smoking.
I love those. I'm gonna eventually give me one of them, man. Now we going back in time, man, because like I said, you have such an incredible story, man, and I'm such a big fan. Like, excuse me, what was the first monitor you actually bred? Was it the peach throat or was it the green tree?
No, it was a black trees. So again, at Lee Watson Swap, there was another dealer there who imported a bunch of stuff. And he had 1.2, a male and two female black tree monitors that were rough. I mean, these things were rough. They had tail rot. They had scars all over them. They were full of parasites. They were really dehydrated, but at that time you couldn't get really good stuff. You had to deal with imports. So I bought them. They were really cheap. So I think it was like $300 for the three of them. So I bought them. I bring them home, and I kept them in a real simple setup at first to get them rehydrated and going. And that's when I started. So I was in the Home Depot one day. I'm in there, I don't know, shopping for something for the house or whatever. And I find myself in the plumbing department, and I see this way up on the rack. You know how the racks are like a mountain? Way up on the rack, there was a one-piece bathtub unit. It's the three sides in the tub, all one piece, not like those things you bring in your house and put three parts together. This was all in one unit. It's for new construction, so it's kind of wide. So the reason I say it's for new construction is I had to take off all the doors of my house to get it where I wanted it. But when I got it and I set it up, man, I realized one thing right now. For tree monitors, anybody listening, listen to this. For tree monitors, a one-piece new construction bathtub unit and shower stall units, great cages. They never rot. You can customize them to make them look like the wild, and they're great. They're great. I mean, they're showers and bathtubs, so they're made for high humidity, water splashing. They're indestructible, and they're great. Perfect size.
I love it. So you said the first one you bred was a black tree monitor, man. Now we getting that history, man, because that's what I'm interested in, man. Now you've been in the game for so long, so I don't expect you to remember it, but I'm gonna ask anyway. Everyone works to see their dreams become a reality. So I want to know, like, what was that feeling when you made your first monitor sale, and do you remember it?
Oh yeah, I do. Back in them days, man, it was rough because you have a captive born animal, and you know what you put into it. You know what it took to breed it. Yet you still have to compete with, at the time, it was only wild caught. So if I wanted 1,500 for a captive born black tree monitor, that's a steal of a deal. And people would still say, well, I'm going to go back and get those wild caughts for $150. So it was a little hard, but again, it goes back to dealing with people who understand monitors and how they are and how they come in imported like shit, how much time and effort it takes to, get them into good shape, which is, you could spend the money with a breeder or you could spend the money with the vet. But I can guarantee you one thing. I need the money more than the vet guy needs the money. So
right.
You should buy the captive borns.
Right. I agree. I definitely agree, man. We're going to talk about that parasites in a little bit, man. But I want to have a little fun, man.
Okay.
All my favorite breeders have a motto. If you look at Aussie Boys, I like snakes and stuff. His motto is shut up and breed. Gavin is quality in, quality out. Canova, he breeds amazing snakes. His is the snakes of tomorrow, today. Just amazing mottos. You can make anyone you want. What's Mike's Monitor's motto? Company motto.
My personal motto is, this is my passion. Bottom line. But a friend of mine who goes way back to those days with me, I try to be humble. I mean, I'm a Christian and God wants me to be a humble man. But he came to me and he goes, out of nowhere, he goes, here's your motto. I'm like, what? He said, follow the leader. So I would never say that. That's what he says.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you're a Marvel fan, but I'm a big Marvel, superhero fan. Now, do you know who Thanos is?
Yeah, he's that big blue dude, right?
Yeah, where he snaps his fingers and like half of humanity is gone. So
Oh,
so so my question to you is when it comes to the monitor game, what's one thing that if you could Thanos it, if you could snap it and it'd be gone, what would it be?
and this is gonna ruffle some feathers, but I've been in this monitor game a long time. I would snap my fingers and I would say, no more hybrids ever. No more hybridization in with the Varanids.
I like that. I like that. Ain't that we here to ruffle feathers, man. Now you have a beautiful, beautiful wife, man. Like, how does she feel about the monitors? Did you introduce her to them, or you already had them when you met her?
Well, me and Karen, we have a crazy story. Man, I've lived a crazy. I've lived 100 lives, and it wasn't until I found the Lord that my life really has purpose and meaning, and I'm having all this success. And I give all the glory to God because, man, I'm just a guy. I'm a retired cement finisher who loves animals, and you know, I just do what I do, and it's like God set me up for it. So me and Karen, when I was going through my first divorce, it was the winter time, so I was working. I was getting unemployment, and I was making cash at my friend's pet store. Well, her dad owns a tropical fish wholesaler, so they distribute fish to all the pet shops in the Midwest. Um, and she had come into the pet shop one day, and I was just going through a divorce. I was just early in the beginning stages of my divorce, and I was cleaning a goldfish vat or something. And she came in and she was like, "Oh, so who's this guy?" Like, real arrogant. And I'm like, "Fuck, who's this?" I turn around and I see this girl, and I was like, "Wow, she's beautiful." And like, I don't know. She didn't seem like really interested in me, but I said, "Hey." So I started talking with her. And in talking with her, man, we were just laughing and joking. And, I'm like, "Hey, would you like to go get something to eat sometime?" And so we started dating around. Um, and again, I was a young man. I was going through a divorce and not living right. So my wife, Karen, is a real straight lace. I'm not so much a straight lace, especially in my younger days. I was a wild man. I was, having fun and partying, staying out all night. You know how it goes. And she didn't want that. So our lifestyles like didn't mesh. You know what I mean? So we had some good times, and we were, dating around for a little while. And because of my lifestyle, we kind of went our separate ways. Like I said, she's the good girl in school, and I'm the bad boy. So our lifestyles didn't mesh. And then after my second divorce, my mom, who Karen knew, and my mom loved Karen, my mom told me, "You go with that girl." And I'm like, "Ma, it ain't working out, Ma." I couldn't tell my mom why, because I like to party, Ma, and she's straight. So my mom loved Karen. So we were separate. Me and Karen didn't talk to each other for like 30 years. 30 years, man.
Damn.
And then, yeah. And then my mom was in hospice. And again, this Facebook stuff, all this stuff, I'm not real good with it. I'm an old dog. I don't notice new shit. So my kids encouraged me to start a Facebook. So I started a Facebook, and when my mom was in hospice, I stayed with my mom. I was retired at that time. I had really messed up my leg real bad, and so I was in the hospice with my mom. And I get a friend request or whatever they're called from Karen Boeing. And I often thought about Karen and how I could get a hold of her, and things just never. But at this point in my life, I fell to my knees. I put all my burdens at the feet of the cross. God pulled me out of a really, really dark place. I was addicted to some bad drugs, and I started cleaning myself up, and when you're father of 8 kids, and you're going through a divorce, and you got a lifetime of shit you've lived, and now you're trying to straighten your life out. And I pray every day, every night, all day, all night, when I was getting clean. And the Lord chose to save me, so I owe everything to the Lord. And so when Karen contacted me, I said, "Oh, my mom's in hospice." She said, "Oh my God, where?" And I told her. And on the way home from work that day, she come to see my mom. And I told my mom, I'm like, "Mom, you're never gonna guess who's coming to see you, Mom." And she goes, "Oh, it's gonna make me cry." She goes, "Please tell me it's Karen." I said, "Yeah, Mom, it's Karen." So, man,
I love it,
and my
man. That's
mom, my
awesome.
mom, my mom been through me through all of the stuff. Never gave up on me. Never thought I was a piece of crap. Always saw the good in me. And so that day, it was like 11 o'clock, and my mom, something happened in the parking lot or something, and my mom says, "Is that Karen?" I'm like, "No, Ma, she's coming after work all day long." "Is that Karen? Is that Karen?" So when Karen came to the hospice, Karen, I'm like 5'4", and I'm probably lying, and Karen is like 5'11". She's a very, very tall girl. So when she came, man, and no one, she didn't know nothing about me yet. She, for all she knew, I was still the wretch that I was. Um, so she came walking up, and I was standing on the curb because that's the only way me and her see eye to eye. So, yeah. So I'm standing on the curb, and she comes up, and I didn't know, how to, greet her or whatever. But as she kept walking closer and closer, I wanted to run off that curb so bad, but I knew I should hold my ground so I could look her in the eyes, right? And she comes walking up to me, and we just immediately we hugged. And dude, I'm telling you something, man. It was like a hug. Like, it was such a warm hug, man. I mean, it's like the comfort you feel hugging your mom. It was just so comforting to know, that I actually stand a chance with her now because I've cleaned my life up. And, that's one of the first things we talked about. And she, told me I'm not putting up with that stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm a year and a half clean. I'm not putting up with it either. The Lord saved me. I'm not going against him. So we've been together ever since. And like I said, she's in the animal world. So, she's aware of the animals, and the fish, and I love all animals. So, and I really love fish as well. And we caught up on everything. And then when we got together, we didn't know where it was going to go. So it was about, I don't know, probably about a year, close to a year into it, she asked me to move in with her. At the time I was divorced, I had nothing. I had a junky little car. I just, had enough to get by. I was getting Social Security, just enough to get by. And she asked me to come and live with her. I'm like, okay. But so the first time she takes me to her house, we're driving down this freaking road in the woods, and she pulls up this driveway. The driveway took like 3 minutes to get up, and then it just opens up to this giant, beautiful house in the woods. And I was like, "Wow, you live here?" She goes, "Yeah, I live here." So, I came in, and we spent some time together, and then, like I say, a while later, she asked me to move in with her, and I did. So, excuse me.
Oh, take your time, man. Everybody in the chat love this story. We love it.
Oh man, I keep forgetting there's people listening to this shit, but I get it. I get it.
Karen Shea said, "Wow, she loves the story. How many times did you dream about Karen over the 30 years?"
Man, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I often thought about Karen, and in my thoughts were always like, what if? You know how that goes.
Yeah.
And I wasted a lot of years with drugs and stuff. So when I did get my life together, and it was a year and a half after I started, after I've been clean for a year and a half. And then, like, to meet her, and just, it was like, man, it was like a movie, man. I mean, I'm not a corny, sentimental kind of guy, but that's how it was like I said, when I hugged her for the first time, it was like real. It was like I was like, it's like being home, when you're gone for a long time and you come home, that comfort feeling. Um, so yeah, so that's how that was getting back with her. And then after we were together the first year, our money was separate. She had her money, I had my money, and things like that. So I had gotten a tax return. It was a pretty nice tax return, and I got some snakes. So I started with some snakes, and I was like, yeah, you know what, this'll do. And then after, like, I don't know, a few months of having them snakes and checking them out once a week, feeding them and water them, changing their waters and stuff, I was like, man, I got so much more in me than this. And and then in talking with Karen, we decided that we were going to get some monitors. So we started collecting monitors, and you know, I mean, thank you, Jesus, that I started producing monitors right away. So she always believed in me, but monitors ain't like the easiest thing to deal with, to breed and to constantly come up with, egg after egg after egg hatchlings. And, it's not easy to do consistently. So when she started seeing what I was putting out, we went to a Tinley, and now I had invested like, I don't know. At that time, I had invested like $4,000 into a pair of coming eye monitors.
Uh-huh.
So after, yeah, and that's one of my favorites. They're just, to me, the most beautiful monitors that you can get. So I got the coming eye, started having success with them. Went to the another NARBC show where John Adrania was there. I've known him a long, long time, and oh, this motherfucker, he had a pair of fucking Mertens on his table. And, John ain't no dummy. He knows what I'm about. First thing he goes, hey, Mikey, he goes, I got something to show you. Pulls out these two Mertens, man. And I guess I had that look in my eye because I look over at Karen and she's like, she had that, like, what are you thinking? And I looked at her like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And she's like, do you think you can do good with them? I said, yeah, I think I could do good with them. So we invested in that pair, and man, that's since those Mertens, it's been, I just been popping them out
Nonstop.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it, man. Now, like now, just for shits and giggles, and I don't want to know. I don't care about your money. That's not what I want to know about. When you were, just like you're telling us a story. You invested, you got your monitors, you're popping out babies and eggs and good stuff. When you actually made a little money, what was the first thing you bought yourself?
Well, I think probably more monitors, man, to be honest with you. So like what me and Karen's kind of deal is, you got to understand something. She was living in this big house all by herself. She's a very, very independent woman. I'm kind of a dependent kind of guy. And like, she would go to work. She heats her house. This house that we live in, it's heated with a Yodel stove, like from Sweden. So it's one of them old fashioned, wood burning stoves. So she would load that thing up in the morning before she'd go to work. And she'd come home and the fire was just barely going. She'd have to load it up again. So she's very independent like that. And her electric bill before I moved in here was, I believe she said, it was like $100. So, I mean, at this point in our lives, that is now like $1,200. So any ideas you're going to get about getting rich breeding monitors, forget about it. It's you'll make money. You'll make money to keep your lights on. You'll make money to feed everything. And so for her, all the money I make, I give right to her. I don't like money. I don't need money. I my basic needs are met. I'm good. So I give her all the money. And when I started becoming really successful with the monitors, I was using my monitors as currency to get other monitors. So she likes the money. I like getting more monitors. So whenever I want something, I trade. I make trades and I get new breeding stock, and that's how I kind of do my thing.
Right. I love that. I love that, man. Now, I need you to make me a promise.
Okay.
If I come to Tinley in October, you got that gold chain on, right?
Yeah.
I know you said you don't really need money, but if I come to Tinley in October, I want to stop by Mike's Monitors booth, and I want to see you have a chain on with a big ass monitor with like diamonds on it, and it's just like hanging from you.
So do you know a cat named Dre Williams?
I do know Dre. You talking about the snake god? I know
Yeah.
Dre.
Okay. That guy is fucking awesome. I've only known him a few years through reptiles, but man, he is such a genuine, nice guy. So he comes strolling through the Tinley last time, and he's like, "Hey, my brother," and like we're shaking hands, and this motherfucker smiles at me, and
Gold
damn, I
teeth.
needed. Oh, not only gold teeth, man, probably the best grill I've ever seen in my life. That shit was blinging and shining, and it was beautiful. Um, and he told me he's going to get me one. I'm like, I don't know, man. Look at this. Are you gonna? They got him like a picket fence. I mean, my teeth ain't that good, man. I don't think I should waste them on gold, But yeah, that gold grill was beautiful, man.
I love it, man. Shout out to the Dre, man. Dude, super good dude, man. Now, I want to learn, man, and we're having fun, but I want you to teach people what do you think is like the best beginner monitor for people that really don't have any experience? They want to come get a monitor. Where should they start?
Okay, where you should start is here's where you should start. You should start in your thoughts. Okay, number one, what's your commitment level? Because monitors they're unlike snakes. They need commitment from you. They're every day. You got to. I mean, a lot of these monitors will poop in their water. You got to change that. When they poop in that water, you got to change it. So, what's your commitment level? And if you're not committed to changing water every day and feeding daily, you should probably look into any of the audatrias. So like Ackies or Gilleneye are great beginner species. I've actually bred mine in my Mike's monitor barrel, which is, it's really small. And if you put something like that in your living room and deck it out looking really good, it's part of the house. It's a beautiful piece of furniture. And yet you have your animals living in there. So that's what you should ask yourself first is your commitment level. Like, I'll be honest with you, grabbing a Savannah or a Nile monitor, that's probably not the best first choice. Number one,
What?
I'm serious, because number one, a Savannah monitor is a specialty feeder in the wild. So people tend to want to give them pinkies and stuff like that. And what happens is real quickly, Savannah monitors become obese. So you're best off with like a 90% insect diet. Keep your animal lean and a little bit of protein, like a quail egg or a pinky, maybe once a month. Quails are a great food. They don't put a lot of caloric weight on your animals. They're digestible really easy. So yeah, that's what I would say. Probably go with like Ackies or Gilleneye or Kingorum, something like that.
Right. I love that you're here because you give me that game on the Savannah. Like mine, since I've had it, I haven't gave it any pinkies. I only do insects, and I just started the eggs because I was
Yep.
looking that up. And now, is it true that you could give them raw meat too?
You know what? You could give them a cat turd and they're going to eat it, but that doesn't mean it's good for them.
So raw
Seriously.
meat isn't good for them.
Well, raw meat is good for them, but like, what are you talking about? Chicken?
Yeah, like some chicken or like what? What are you thinking? That's what I'm. Give me the
Okay,
knowledge.
well, I'm leading you. I'm leading the people listening and stuff to you. So, okay, here's the problem. The problem is when you start giving meat like chicken breast or steak or pork, stuff like that. Well, man, that's real easy to go to the grocery store and grab that stuff.
Right.
So it becomes a convenience item, but it's not good for your animal. So if you're gonna have a commitment to a Savannah monitor and you want to give it something varied in their diet, and say chicken, you're talking about chunks of chicken breast. Get you a day-old quail. Give them the whole quail. Give them the beak. Give them the eyes, the connective tissue, the guts, the feet. That's the stuff in combination that's good for your animal. Just giving them a part of that is not the best thing.
You giving us that game, man. That's why you here, Mike. Mike's
Absolutely.
monitors, man. I love that. I love that.
And again, man, this comes for the love of the animals, man. I just want people to realize that, these aren't dogs and cats. There's no commercial diet for them. Go buy you some quail eggs. Go buy you some frozen quails, insects, dubia roaches, any kind of roaches, crickets. And that stuff is more, and again, just like going to the store becomes habitual, before you know it, you're going to know the quail breeder. You're going to know where to get, the proper diet. And then that becomes habitual for you.
Mike, you know what I'm doing with my Savannah, what I'm working on trying to get it to do? So I click the tongues every time I'm in here and I'm ready to feed him. I click the tongues and I put my hand there and I make him come on my arm.
There you go.
So he'll start crawling on me and coming up my arm to get the food. And it's so amazing, Mike.
Yeah. So on that note, let me say this, a little shameless plug for myself. So this year I was asked to do a talk at the International Herp Symposium, which for me, I'm not a sports guy. I'm an animal guy. So I've listened and watched excerpts from these symposiums and all the big academics and professors and zoologists. These are my heroes. You know what I'm saying? So to be asked to go talk at this thing was like, I mean, again, I give all the credit to God because, I mean, look at me. I mean, I guess I have some wisdom or knowledge or something that I could share. So when they asked me, I said, okay, look, you want me to give a talk on breeding monitors? They said, no, you give a talk on whatever you want. And again, man, here's opportunities in my belief system that come from the Lord. He opens doors, man. So that's pretty much an open door. And what I've been working on for about 3 years now is this caging system geared towards socializing your animals. So me and my sons, we work with my animals every day, especially my hatchlings. Right out of the egg, we start socializing them every day. So I've noticed some things with these animals. Like with all my water type animals, forest type animals like peach throats, indicus, it could be Togienus, any types of water monitors, Mertens, all these kind of animals. When they're young, they find a lot of security. Like their number one security is to go for the water. So if something's chasing them, they want to get to that water. They get under the dirty water, they hide in the weeds, and they're scared as shit because everything wants to eat them. So another thing is they want to grow to a size. They want to go from being prey to predator as fast as they can. So along with the security needs, you gotta really take care of their skeletal growth at these young ages. And then later on down the road for like egg-laying females and stuff, you really got to support that fast-growing skeletal growth with calcium powders. And I use Sticky Tongue Farm Mineral for indoors all the time, every feeding, and it really helps them grow good and fast with a good, strong skeletal system. So with knowing their security needs with the water, again, what I've noticed people do is they'll take my animals and they'll right away, they want to put them in a gorgeous setup like I got. But mine don't start off that way. Mine start off in a very simple setup that meets all their husbandry needs, number one, and number two, all their security needs. So when I say that, and I'm sorry if I'm rambling.
Oh, you take your time. I love it. I love it. That's why you're here.
All right. So I noticed when I started breeding out the Mertens and doing them really, producing a lot of them. So when you have so many, you can't individually house them. And, if baby monitors actually like to be in groups because they feel security in numbers. So there's a point of my caging system. So I took a 40 breeder Exoterra and I drilled a hole in the bottom. So I didn't have to go in there to clean. I could just open the drain without going in there and scaring them, drain it, rinse it out with a hose, close the valve, and fill it back up. Then I took a cork tube that goes from one end of the 40 breeder to the other end, and I drilled. The cork tube looks like Swiss cheese. I got holes in the front, I got holes in the top, and what this serves two purposes. They go in there and they're hiding. Okay, they can also bask from within that log because of the holes in the top. So if once they start getting bold, they'll bask on top. But until they start getting bold, they bask from within the cork tube. They feel totally secure in there. And the little portholes, now what you do is you take food and you start passing it to them in there one by one. And they feel secure and they eat off the tongs. And before you know it, they're getting to think this big ugly food monkey is a good guy. He's a good thing. So like you said with yours, now you'll put your hand in there, you'll lure them out onto your hand. They'll grab the food, they'll run back in. You're done. Okay, you showed them you're not harming them. Everything's good. They grab their food, they go in. Before you know it, they become really habituated to your presence and how you're not a threat to them. And they become more and more bold. They'll come out on your arm, they'll sit on your shoulder, they'll eat. And when you put your hand in the cage, they'll run down your arm and go back in their home. That's their security. So over the years, this water bottom, really simple setup with the cork tube with the holes in it, man, I've taken monitors that take months and months and months of socializing to become social. I could get it done in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks using my caging system, anybody can do this. You got to listen to me and follow the steps. But I'm telling you, man, in 3 weeks time, what normally would take you 3, 4, 5 months, you'll get it done in 3 weeks because you're meeting their husbandry needs and then you're meeting their security needs. So while they're always scared and nervous, they know they can go in that cork tube, and if worse comes to worse, they'll dive down into the water where they feel totally safe. So kind of like unbeknownst to me, working this system over the years, I really seen the benefits of it. So when I was offered to do that talk, I submitted an abstract on my caging system, and they gave me the thumbs up. They said, we'd love to hear it. So that's what my talk is going to be on at this symposium. And also, anybody who wants to know, I have this water bottom system for those monitor species that I had talked about. And then for Audatrias, I have another system when I was breeding the Audatrias to socialize them too. And again, in 3 weeks, man, they're walking on your arm like little puppy dogs. It's a beautiful system.
This is freaking awesome, man. Now, since we're talking about a lot of the stuff that you're building, you're innovating, I want to talk about your reptile room. Like, I'm such a fan of your reptile room, and I've seen it on Dave Kaufman's channel. Now, like how long did it take you to just to build your whole room?
Well,
how much time did you invest?
Oh man, I'm still working. I it's never ending. It's I got a new species of monitor, Varanus togienus. I set up a new system for them, which is the water bottom system. So it's constantly evolving, and probably at this point I got 5, 6 years into what I got going down there right now. So it started with the cages. And then once I got everything in place, I'm looking at it, and I'm an aesthetics kind of guy. I like all my stuff to look nice and my cages to look naturalistic and beautiful. So when I got all the cages set up into their spots, I just kind of sat back and looked at the room, and I'm like, you know what? If I put paneling around it, it would look like they were built into the walls. So that's how that all started. And I've always tried to keep my room really nice looking, and because I love as much as I love my animals, I love having beautiful cages, naturalistic. And I love when people come into my room and they open that big swinging door and their eyes just pop out of their head. And they're like, I didn't know, man, this is better than the zoo, man. To me, I just been paid. You just paid me. So that's what I get off on.
See, having that amazing monitor room, it's hard to leave, ain't it? It's like you love your wife, you love your family, but with the when I get in my reptile room, it's hard to leave it because it's just like I love being in here. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep.
How
It's I mean, you could sit and waste your days watching TV or, stuff like that. But man, ain't nothing like sitting in front of a Mertens enclosure where you got, 8 species of fish living in there. You got your monitors living in there. Water's running. The lights are going. The rocks look beautiful. I love it, man. It's better than TV, man.
I love it, man. I love it. Now, you're a big dog in the game when it comes to monitors, man. So my question to you is, you were so successful when it comes to monitors. What do you feel is like the top 3 things that you implement that make you as successful as you are?
Well, like people say to me all the time, like, you got your skeptics, when you start coming up and you start doing things, you get that, you get the haters and you know how it goes. I mean, that's just how it is, man. I mean, so I don't do nothing for those people, man. I do people for people who want to learn and they want to understand my point of view with all this stuff. That's what I love. I love helping people understand these animals and do right by their setups because back in the day when I started, so when I was a little kid and whatever, I caught a toad in my backyard. I didn't just throw it in a 10-gallon tank. I decked that tank out, man. I gave it a nice water feature, plants, cool driftwood to hide behind, and I love that as much as I love my animals. I love giving them what I think a beautiful naturalistic habitat is. And so, as much as I love the animals, I love the setups, and I love having people come and admire my setups. I say this all the time. My grandmother was an artist, so I was very close with my grandmother. I watched her do sculpture and oil painting. So I have an eye for aesthetics, but God gave me the passion for animals. So I kind of incorporate the two. And it is an art form doing the kind of enclosures that I do. And again, I love doing that. So that's why I do that. And I want people to do that. So back in the day, there was the American way of keeping your reptiles, and then there was the European way, which they don't spare no expense, man. These guys deck their cages out from even way back then. They never went through the lowest common denominator type enclosure. So I always really looked up to the Europeans for their naturalistic enclosures and going above and beyond for your animals, and I've always done that. So I love to see people contact me and say, "Oh man, I seen your YouTube channel with your room tour, and your enclosures are amazing." I'm like, if then they'll say to me like, "Well, I was thinking about I could do this and that." I'm like, okay, well then do it. Like, well, I probably won't look like yours. I'm like, it doesn't have to look like mine. Art is subjective, man. If you think it's beautiful and your animals are thriving in there, do it, man. I always tell people, they'll say, "Oh, I can imagine this log over the water." I'm like, dude, quit imagining it. You
Do
can
it.
see it. Do it. Go and do it. I don't care how you do it. Do it. I never had money. I had to collect all my wood from outside, all my dirt from outside, and it's really served me well over all these years.
I love that, man. So you feel like the top 3 things that make you so successful is your passion. That you want to give your art, your animals just everything that they need to thrive and just make just beautiful enclosures and just I love it, man. You're just so passionate, man. I love what you got going on, man. Now, um, I gotta ask this, man. Like, if all the monitor keepers were in this, let's for shits and giggles, let's say every person in the world that had a monitor was watching right now. What's one thing you would tell all monitor keepers?
It's monitors are a daily duty. It's daily. People ask me, you know, about my breeding and how I breed and stuff. Of course, it's regional depending on where you're at in the country because my weather conditions aren't conducive with California or, up in Utah or something. It's all different. So I can only vouch for what I do here. And then I also tell people that's going to change a little bit if you're in South Texas. Your temperatures, your base temperatures and everything are a lot different than mine. So, yeah, you got to have a commitment to these animals. You got to work them. You got to read them. And I literally mean that when I say to people, what does your monitor say? They're like, well, what do you mean? He don't say nothing. He's telling you something. If he's sleeping in his water all the time, it's too dry. Build your humidity up. If they bask under the light all the time, your ambient temperatures aren't hot enough. Get your ambient temperatures up. They should bask for short periods. Gravid females will bask a little longer under very high temperatures. Some people don't believe my temperatures, and I've been confronted on it. So what I've done is I took pictures with my gun, shooting the animal on this 150-degree basking area.
Right.
And, and people say, it don't get that hot. No, I'm like, dude, you go in July we'll say Minnesota, and go shoot a rock in the woods and tell me how hot that sun beat rock is. I guarantee you it's 150 or more.
Right.
So they do use these temperatures. If they're basking in them for a real long time, you need to up your ambient temperatures so they don't need to sit under that high heat. It's a balance. So you got to be dedicated to what you're doing and really listen to your animals and talk to people, take criticism. I'm never critical with people and say, oh, you dummy. I never do that, man. They're trying to figure it out just like I was and still am. I'm still a student of the animals. I'm never going to know everything about these animals. I mean, right now I know enough how to, watch them achieve life goals and, produce babies and raise the babies and breed them again. So, I'm very open with all of my husbandry methods and techniques. And the reason I am, people say, my wife says, why do you tell everybody? I'm like, because you know what? I could tell everybody everything. Here's the thing that I am blessed that most people aren't blessed with. I'm here with my monitors every day. I'm in tune with these animals every day. I work with them every day. So even when I was working concrete, I would still come home and I'd put 4 or 5 hours in the animal room. So in my early days of breeding, man, I was on a treadmill because I was working plus doing my animals and having success. So now for me to do this, it's leisurely, but it's a dedication. To breed these animals, it takes dedication.
Right. You want to know what the biggest change for me was? Because of course, like I said, I'm in the snake game.
Yeah.
But getting into the monitor game, you want to know what the biggest change for me was?
What's that?
So like I could go to the pet store and get one of the lights that the snakes need, to get to where they can lay it around to get high. I can go to the pet store, get one of those like $10-15. So I started doing my research on the Savannah monitor. And they need the UVA, UVB. It's like 3 things that one bulb does. And it's not a $10 bulb. When I went to the pet store, my mouth dropped. I said, this light bulb is $70.
Yeah, you know what, bro? I'm gonna tell you something. I've been an old dog. I've been doing this a long time. So UVA and UVB, it has a purpose.
Yep.
However, through all the years of doing this, you can achieve the same thing as UVA and UVB with high heat. So high heat in combination with your vitamins, minerals, and vitamin D3. The high heat it synthesizes the vitamin D3 into usable calcium for your animals. Yeah. So that's kind of covered, and that's covered with a $10 bulb, not an $80 bulb. So again, like I said to you several times already tonight, I don't come from money. And when I started researching back in the day, like ZooMed had a line of UVA and UVB bulbs, and Arcadia then came out with them, and their marketing ploy backfired on them with me. So they would say, if you take our UVA and UVB light and keep it 18 inches away for 6 months, after 6 months, you got to lower. You got to get the light closer to the animal to get the UVA and UVB benefits. And after 6 months, it's kind of lost its oomph. Throw it away and go buy another $80 bulb. I'm like, screw that. That's crazy. So their marketing ploy kind of backfired with me. I'm not throwing a perfectly good light bulb away because it's not doing what they said it does. When, like I said, halogen bulbs, which put out really high heat, synthesize the vitamin D3 into usable calcium for the animal. So I'm not a UVA or UVB guy. I never have been. Perhaps one day I will be, but until there's more testing and stuff done, I just do it what works.
Hey, you're killing it, man. So we appreciate the knowledge, man. And everybody ain't gonna do it the same, but we still appreciate the knowledge that you're giving us. Now, I want to have a little fun, man. I like to title this part the USARC section of the show.
Okay.
Of course, USARC is so important. So if you're here, support USARC. They're fighting for our rights. They're fighting for us to keep our animals. Now, I want to have a little fun, Mike. I don't know if you remember High Desert Pythons. John Feely had a charity wrestling match to where they raised money and sent it to USARC. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Now, I thought it would be fun if we kind of got our top content creators and we put them against each other in a match to see who will win. So I'm going to give you some matches, and I want you to tell me who you think will win, okay?
All right, this is going to be fun.
This is a fake USARC charity wrestling match. So to start it off, Brian Barczyk or Jay Brewer?
Oh, man. Hey, I don't want to ruffle no feathers on this one, but I got to go with my man Brian. And for other reasons, but Jay's a big galoot, he's like me. He's a petite little flower. Probably won't work out good for him, but I got to go with Brian on that one.
Let's see. You would think Brian, and I love Brian Barczyk, and I love them both. We're great guys. But Jay snakes are bigger, so I think he's a little stronger. I don't know. But you said Brian, so we're going with Brian.
All right.
All right. Next match, charity USARC wrestling match. Kevin McCurley versus Dave Kaufman.
Dave's my man.
Dave is a big dude.
He is, man. But when you're 5'4", everybody's big to me.
Okay. Next one.
But I love Dave, man. Dave's a great guy.
I definitely. I hit him up. I need to get him on the show. Next one. Wiccan's Wicked Reptiles. Adam from Wicked Reptiles, or Clint's Reptiles.
You know what? I got to go with America, brother.
Shout out to Clint, man. Clint. If you ever see this, Adam, Clint will whoop your ass. All right.
Now, this is only my opinion, and it's fun, right? I mean, we're not serious, right?
No. It's all in fun. It's all
right,
fun.
right.
It's a fake USARC charity wrestling.
I got you.
All right. Emily from Snake Discovery or Lori Barczyk?
Oh, I don't know, man. I got to go with Barczyk again on that.
Yeah, Lori. I think Lori don't play. I think she.
No, she don't play, man. And you know what? Emily's so nice, and sometimes you got to be a little mean, and I don't see her being mean. And I'm not saying Lori's mean, but I'm going with Barczyk.
All right, last one. Brian Cusco versus Garrett Hartle.
Oh my God. And this would be a physical match? How about just putting the two of them together and they're talking at each other? Who quits talking first?
No, it's
a draw.
It's the physical.
Oh, physical?
Yep. Who will win the wrestling match?
I love both of those guys, but you know what? When you got God on your side, I ain't betting against it, so I'm going with Cusco.
Shout out to Brian, man. Shout out to Garrett, both. Just all amazing people. Man, You gave us almost an hour and 30 minutes, man. Mike, I just want to say, Mr. Mike, thank you so much for coming on my podcast and chatting and talking about monitors. I appreciate the knowledge you gave us. I had fun, man. I appreciate you.
Right. And let me just say something, and I'm not putting you on the spot or nothing. So early on with you, man, I kind of have a sense about people. I always have been that way as a kid and all the way through my life. And when the first time I had talked to you, I knew, man, I knew you were going to be a success in this game. And then the whole thing that we talked about privately came up, and I pulled my sponsorship, and then you kind of recanted on that issue, and I kind of felt cheated. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to tell you, man, there was never any beef about that. And you always, after that, you always shout me out. You always
Oh,
give
of
me,
course.
you always show me love on your podcast. So I don't feel cheated because you're a genuine guy. And even though that happened, you still put me out there the way you do. And it's all love between you and me, brother.
Hey,
Always.
Mike is all love, man. I appreciate you so much, man, for coming on and chopping it up with me, man. Until next time, man. I appreciate you. Have a good night, brother.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Mike Stefani, Mike's Monitors. I'm out.
Awesome, awesome podcast, man. I had fun. Oh man, Kara Shay, agreed. Mike, you're a cool person. Great show. Um, hey, Kara Shay, I appreciate that. Maybe the best one. Um, this was such a fun podcast. I just got a monitor. That is the reason I brought Mike's monitors on, man. If you want to talk monitors, Mike is the person to go get. Um, if you're here, I appreciate you for showing up and watching the podcast. Like, comment, and subscribe. And if you got time, I'm no pressure, but hit that join button. Become a member of the channel. Helps me out a little bit. You know, it's a fun way to support the channel. And again, man, Mike's Monitors is a legend in the game. So until next time, man, this is Big Reptile Talk. You know what to do. Make sure you check out all our sponsors, man. Basement Pythons, Mile High Mutations, Morphed Ambitions, Large Marge Morse, MKL Exotics, Frost Critters, Mad River Serpents, and Rattery. You already know about Pythons, King's Reptiles, everybody, man. Low Life Exotics. Kara Shay said, he made me smile the whole time. I looked goofy over here smiling at the PC. Kara Shay, that's what it's about, man. I appreciate you for supporting me. Until next time, man, this is Big Reptile Talk, and I'm out of here.
Whoa.